How could globalization affect your future career prospects? When a lot of people think about globalization, they might think about taking vacations to Bali or buying clothes from the other side of the globe, or even cooperation between nations or free trade zones. But what are the impacts of globalization on your career? If you haven't noticed yet, globalization is completely changing the job market. Stick with me until the end of this video because I'm going to show you how you can avoid becoming a victim of your job getting outsourced, or even of your company going out of business and you losing your job as a consequence. But also, I want to show you how you can use globalization to your advantage and get paid even more than you currently do. My name is Dalia. I'm a career strategist helping people get out of boring or unfulfilling jobs and into highly paid work that they love since about 6 years now, and I've worked about 12 years as a communications consultant and manager for various international organizations. Now, there are a couple of risks associated with globalization. For one thing, businesses are offshoring skilled jobs to less developed countries in order to cut costs. So yes, that means that your job could very well be at risk. But for another, globalization leads to more competition between companies, which could result in closures and layoffs to you. So let's start with how to make sure you're protecting your income from those risks. Are you paying attention to trends? Don't be one of those people who closes their eyes and assumes what has been will be. Remember companies like Blockbuster, Toys R Us, and Kodak? They were all doing great until they weren't. And it's crazy, but 88% of the Fortune 500 firms that existed in 1955, they're gone. Market shifts can rattle even the most successful and visible and grand companies that nobody thinks will ever go under. Are you thinking you can't be replaced? If you're thinking that you're special and that you couldn't possibly be replaced, it's only natural that if your company can get the same done for less, they might do that. So just don't have that mentality that, oh no, they could never replace me. Next, ask yourself, do you have a high value skill set? This is the question you need to just ask yourself. What do you offer that somewhere else, anywhere else in the world, or even in your home country in another state, wouldn't be able to replicate? This might be the thing that you're doing right now, or maybe it's time you actually revisited what it is that you do for work. It's possible to change your specialization, even if you're later on in your career, without having to restart at entry level. Next, ask yourself, how can I leverage the experience I already have into something the market is asking for, but that also cannot easily be outsourced? Next, are you branded as an expert in your field? Once you've got your high value skill set dialed in, you need to brand yourself as that go-to expert. With good branding, you're going to be able to attract job offers to you. And when you're branded in the right way, you just look like an infinitely better option than most other people out there, including people in other countries that otherwise your employer might have gone to in order to outsource. Next, ask yourself, do I have a solid network? Next, ask yourself, do I have a solid network? Your network is so important because of one key word, which is trust. Just because your company could offshore for cheap doesn't mean they want to, if you can do the job impeccably and they know you and they trust you. So just as with any crisis, any problem, or any predicament, there are always opportunities. Let's talk about those opportunities so that you can start using globalization to your advantage. Globalization opportunity number 1. Find your globalization-proof high-value skill set. Imagine you are in an area that can easily be offshored. Let's pretend you're a graphic designer. There are amazing graphic designers all around the planet, and many will ask to be paid less than you. Now, what you could do is you could start moving towards more of a niche design role that might not be able to be replicated elsewhere, or into more of a managerial role where even if your company is outsourcing the work, you're the one actually doing that outsourcing, choosing people, and also managing that quality control. The company might prefer to have you there because they know that you understand the vision, maybe you're in the same time zone, and you just get their culture and you get what they're trying to do. And so that's why you're able to manage that quality, choose the right freelancers instead of them having to find those people and then potentially not get a great result. The point is, it's really important to constantly look at where the job market's going and position yourself according to where you can be the most valuable. Opportunity number 2 is to boost your salary. We talked about the risk of losing your salary due to globalization, but if you play your cards right, you can actually use globalization to be paid more. For one thing, it's become more acceptable to earn money in one location while working in another. So you might get paid by, let's say it's a high-paying American company, but you might move your physical base to another country where costs are lower so that your salary stretches further. And of course, you can even do that between states. You can keep working for the same company in the same country, but just move to a region where the costs are lower. This is something I've done before, where my paycheck at one point was coming from Switzerland, but I was living in Spain, which allowed me to save a lot of money and purchase real estate, which I then rented out for passive income, which was just something I would never have been able to do had I physically stayed in Switzerland. Opportunity number 3, go and travel. Globalization is making it easier than ever to find work abroad because companies they're looking more and more diverse. There's so much crossover between countries, and that means if you've always dreamed about going abroad, now is the time to get yourself noticed internationally and to get out there and go do it. For example, I had a client, Jaron, he was from Seattle, working in construction, feeling kind of bored, and he wanted to get into international development. What he ended up doing was he decided to get himself a job in Greece helping refugees. So he got to spend some time in Greece with his new position. Opportunity number 4 is to join the trend. If you can't beat it, then join it. Instead of you trying to fight globalization, why don't you go and be that person that they outsource to? Be that person finding the job in another country, or be that person, taking on that work. Opportunity number 5 is to start a side hustle. Gone are the days that the prospect of starting a business is limited to your ability to buy a brick and mortar store where you need to go in and sit for 10 hours a day to sell a few products. These days, business opportunities from globalization are endless. You can sit in your apartment and buy shoes from China or Vietnam and sell them to German customers without even leaving your room, and sometimes without even having to make a phone call. So if you're going to go, for example, the drop shipping route, you don't even need to buy inventory. Or alternatively, you can be a YouTuber like me, or you offer freelance services to companies in other countries. We're not going to go through all the different side hustles that exist. You probably know some of them, but I want to know from you, how is globalization affecting your job or industry? Let me know below.